Hooey, goddamn. Episode 2 was a banger. Honestly, I feel like episode 2 is better than episode 1. Episode 1 had a lot of exposition things happen in the beginning. Episode 2 was like straight right into the content. Full disclaimer, there's going to be some spoilers, obviously. I'm not going to spoil everything, so I really recommend you watch that first. But anyway, we start off kind of similar to the first one, but they gave us a little bit of backstory. They take us to Jakarta, Indonesia, which, by the way, after doing some digging, turns out that there's the largest like flour manufacturers or factory, I believe, in Jakarta, Indonesia. So it makes sense that they're using flour as a sort of vehicle for helping the transmission of the fungus throughout the population. Now, by the way, I do have some sort of issue with this, really, and I'll make another video on that later, where I feel like that's a really big problem. They should have done maybe a little bit more research, but I could be wrong. But I'll make that video and you guys will see that soon. So they find some lady eating a salad in the corner of a restaurant, and the military basically escorts her out of there and takes her to some sort of safe house, and the whole situation is very tense. That's the one thing that the show does really well. It gives you a sense of tension a lot, and even if you don't see the zombies and stuff right away, the tension is always there. It's almost like omnipresent through the whole thing, even the moments where you feel like it's a good moment. Then you find out that she is a professor of mycology, who's basically, if you don't know, studies fungi. One can say that she's into fun guys. Get it? Oh, that was uncalled for. I'm sorry. But anyway, this scene sets the sort of precedence for the whole episode, right? Because, man, she goes kind of, I don't want to ruin everything, but she kind of goes into, there's a dead body, basically. Okay, fine, I'll ruin this. There's a dead body, and she kind of inspects it, and boy, the fungus has spread all over. And the guy basically mentions that she's one of the victims of sort of a earlier target, and they've killed everybody else. Then it kind of takes us through the episode where Tess, Ellie, and Joel then go sort of through Boston, where they need to go to this headquarters with the Golden Dome building, which I think is from the game. I mean, again, I haven't played the game fully, so, you know, excuse me there, but it seemed like a pretty iconic shot. They seem to do a lot of these iconic shots where Joel and Ellie are basically standing there and the dome is there. I remember that scene from one of the in-game photos, and it just kind of follows them throughout the episode, and there's a lot of crazy shit that happens. Boy, was that right in assuming that there's gonna be a lot of fungus and mouth-to-mouth action. Like, look at the scene, for example. Can we please just have a moment of silence for Tess's mouth? Ew, that's absolutely disgusting. Oh my god. It's like making out with a slimy mop. Ugh. They introduced us to the clickers for the first time, which is like a person who's been infected for a while and has not died from it. And these guys use sound to locate people. It's almost like bats, like using some form of echolocation. And they can't see, so it gets really creepy. I think they did a fantastic job. It's like, I mean, these zombies are not traditional zombies, right? It's not like they've gotten bitten and died and then they've come back to life or something. They're very much still alive, by the way, right? Because the way that these fungal infections work, or at least seemingly in this lore even, the host is still alive technically, and for at least for a while, until the fungus basically takes over your entire brain function, which I don't know how long that takes. I don't know if that's the 2 to 8 hour incubation thing, which, by the way, is a very fast incubation period. That is like not normal at all. I think 2 to 8 hours would take for the content usually to double or something like that, but that incubation period is just ridiculous. Like, even Ebola is not even close to that, by the way. And the entire time this happens, Joel is really skeptical about Ellie and sort of whether she's going to turn or not. You can see because he's gripping his assault rifle really close and making sure that, you know, she's not turning and trying to kill them or anything. I would too, right? Like, I mean, it's like you don't even know what's happening. You've basically seen your entire world get ripped apart for the past 20 years. So what are you really to assume then, right? And, you know, that's the best part about this show so far. Every single episode is, I feel, grounded in absolute reality, because, see, it's easy for you to say, oh, you know what, if you only saw the infection for the past 1 year, 2 years, whatever the case is, right? You can be like, okay, well, people would naturally just start believing that these kids have immunity or something. They'll hold that for hope. But it's been 20 years, right? It's been like 2 decades almost. Any hope that was being held on by people has largely left the building. So the fact that after 20 years, some like random child who doesn't even remember the pre-fungi world is a little bit far-fetched, right? It's hard to believe that. So that's why Joel's so skeptical. Whereas Tess is like over the moon with this. So it gives you this like sort of dichotomy of, or two schools of thought as to what people might think in that situation. And it sort of fucks with that tension throughout the episode, honestly. It's really good. It turns it off and turns it on at different times. And it does a good job of exploring the world, and which you need, right? Because it's not a video game where you have the control over the characters and you can sort of joystick your way over to whatever and inspect some things. In a show, you're basically a passenger. You're reliant on them to sort of explain things to you and describe things as they go. So I think they do a good job, especially the hotel scene where, you know, Ellie goes and like fucks around with things and Joel's like, don't touch anything. But the way that things are sort of portrayed and left in the scene and on camera is very good. And it gives you a sense that Ellie wants to learn about the previous world and how things used to be before the infection. And, you know, she takes some interest in that kind of stuff, right? I believe that's from the game as well. I'm not too sure, but you guys can let me know in the comment section below. But it's a real genuine sort of like curiosity, which is funny, right? Because when she asks Joel about it, they're very dismissive because, you know, it's like, why do you want to know about things that will never probably happen again? It's never going to go back to the way things were. So for them, they're looking at it from a very morose perspective, whereas Ellie is just really excited about knowing what used to be. I think this episode was better for world building than anything. And of course, we got the famous kiss of death scene at the end. That shit was creepy as hell. They also portray the whole like network effect of these fungi. I guess the mycelium is really what it's called, but the network effect of them, where if you touch like a single part of the fungi that's still sort of alive, it'll alert everyone in the area, the whole localized effect thing. So we saw that in this episode. Again, if you have not watched it, I cannot stress enough, you gotta go take a look. It's a fantastic episode. It really gets you right into the action. So if anything, this is technically episode 1, in a way that it sort of gives you the whole Joel and Ellie initial experience and starts to hint at the fact that they're starting to grow closer together as they sort of progress. My only gripe with this episode so far, and I mean, some of you guys might not agree with me, but let me know in the comment section if you do, okay? I still think Ellie's annoying as fuck. The reason I say that is because, okay, in the hotel scene, for example, like, she's so belligerent. She's like making so much noise and shit. She's like moving things. I get it. She wasn't part of the old world or whatever. She only knows a new world, right? Which, to be honest, should be more of a case that she doesn't act like this, right? I know in the game she's very sort of excitable and things like that. That's fine. But in the show, they've made her like super irritating. Whereas in the game, whenever there was commentary about, you know, snarkiness or whatever the case was, it was well placed. Because I've been watching some more cinematics and stuff just to get some more background on the character. But it was well placed, you know? Like, she made snarky remarks when it was almost like funny, and it was called for. That relationship was something that really made that game. From the cinematics that I've watched, Ellie's not that rangy. Like, she's excitable for sure, but to show Ellie's like fucking polar. She's like super childish in one scene and then super scared in the other. Basically what I'm saying is, no matter where she grew up or how she grew up, does she not have like basic human survival instincts? You know, why in the hell would you go in the middle of an apocalypse, try to like move some things in water where you don't understand what's growing underneath? There could be a mycelium network underneath. Like, why exactly is that happening, you know? But, you know, the actor that plays her, Ramsey, she's a pretty good actress, and, you know, I'm pretty sure there's a reason for them making her this irritating. I'm sure there's some sort of, like, character arc where she develops into something better. And, you know, I'm here for it because I think all the characters go well together. Even if Ellie's this annoying, they really do go well together because this Joel is very muted too. I'm sure he's channeling his inner Mandalorian performances, but, you know, can't really nitpick on anything other than just that one thing, which to me is just super irritating. But anyway, I'm done over here. You guys go watch that episode. I will catch y'all on the next one. Love you. Peace.